Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. There's a lot of Games of Thrones in this movie.
There is.
There's a few Games of Thrones.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Black Death. Let's get ready to die.
Let's get ready to have pustules in our armpits.
Woo, sadness.
Fumes of the dead hung in the air like poison. A plague, more cruel, more pitiless than war, had descended upon us. This was not God's work, but witchcraft.
Word has reached the bishop of a village that does not suffer as the rest. I must see for myself how this village is kept safe.
This village we're headed to, they have cast God aside, and in its place sits a demon.
The journey into hell. If God travels with us.
All right.
Buboses, is that what they're called? I forget.
I don't know. They're delightful. They're little jujubes. You can fucking eat them, chew them up.
Gosh, what a shitty disease.
Yeah, I know, right? Things sucked. Like back in the day, so watching this movie, really, I'm like, oh God, someone watched TV or something. You poor bastards.
Yeah, man. Put an iPod on, slap some earbuds in your ears, because this is fucking whack.
Yeah, all you could do back in these days, like you literally would just sit and lie down and think about the concept of grass, and that would entertain and comfort you. You know,
right? Like you had you had two choices if you were living in olden times, and that was die in a war or shit yourself to death.
Exactly.
Or if you're a woman, you had a third option, which was die in childbirth, or a fourth option, which is get burned as a witch.
Burned as a witch. Yeah, that's always an option. Listen, big thank you to Harris and Millie. Thank you, Harris and Millie, for recommending to us that we watch Black Death, our Patreon producers who made this happen.
Indeed.
I had never seen this movie. No,
me either.
I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea that it was from the director of Triangle. Harris and Millie did not they didn't make us watch Triangle, so it's just completely unrelated.
Yeah, this is just a happy coincidence. We reviewed Triangle
Smith
several weeks back and really enjoyed it, so if you haven't heard that episode, go watch Triangle and listen to the episode.
Yeah. And I definitely need to watch more of their movies.
I kind of want to watch all of this director's movies now because, Dave, I really liked this movie.
Yeah, this was a blast.
This is pretty good.
Romp.
Yeah, romp. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It says Jonathan Bean. It has Edward
Jonathan
Redmayne.
Beansworth.
Yeah. Eddie Redmayne before we knew what he was.
What that meant,
and then David Warner's there.
Yeah, he sure is.
Yeah. He's in and out, but he's there.
He's there.
And this is a story about it's England. It's the bubonic plague.
Yeah.
And Edward Redmayne is a little monk motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
And he, everything sucks. So he's having some sex. He's betraying God.
Yeah, so he's at what do they call it? An abbey, where he has just been gotten out of being quarantined. Bodies are piling up all over the place because we're in the midst of the Black Death. He's got a little squeeze in town, a little secret girlfriend, and he tells her to run off and wait for him in the forest.
He says you got to go back to Denwich, which I rubbed my eyes and went, "This is so fucking British." when he said that. And I wrote the note, this is her whole life. Like, this is all they have. Is like, she's like, I'm from Denwish. I went to this town, and now I got to go back to Denwich. And it's like, man.
Like her whole life is the same 2 square miles of British forest.
Yeah, and it's like, God, it sucks to exist back then.
Yeah, it is whack ass. That's what this movie should be called. Anyway, so Jonathan Beansworth shows up, and he is an envoy from a bishop, and they've heard tale of a village in the forest marsh nearby that is supposedly untouched by the plague, and they want to go check it out. So they come to the abbey to ask for a guide. Edward Redithmain volunteers his services as a guide, and then as soon as they get on the road, Jonathan reveals that they are in fact... What's up?
Oh, he does it because his lady is in the same direction.
Yeah, his squeeze is out in the forest, so he wants to get out there.
He only does it for that reason. That's
sort of. He also he goes and prays. He asks the Lord because he's like he does feel bad that he's like, forsaken his vows or whatever.
Slater,
yeah. So he's like, "What do I do? Show me a sign." And then Sean Bean, an envoy from the bishop, shows up and says, "I need a guide." So of course he's like, this is my sign.
Right.
So he goes with them, but as soon as they get on the road, Sean Bean's like, "All right, look, I'm going to level with you."
Yeah.
We're going.
Listen,
we're not. We're not
he
going to this.
Should have told him.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say this where David Warner could hear me.
Yeah.
But, all right, look, check this out. We're going to this village because apparently there is a necromancer there, and the reason they are untouched by the plague is black magic. So we're going to go there and murder some witches.
Yeah. Up until this point, I actually wrote the note, wait, is this a fucking drama? Because it's just very bleak, and it's just like people talking about the plague. And then they whip out this Sean Bean going like, by the way, we're hunting a necromancer. And it's like, okay, we got a movie now. Fuck.
From what I read now, obviously we're going to spoil this movie, but the movie is not supernatural. And that's one big point of it. But apparently the original script, from what I've read, was supernatural as shit.
Oh, I would have loved that version too.
Yeah, that would have been bonkers. So they make their way to the village. They get attacked.
We meet a surly bunch. We meet a surly bunch of sinners.
Yeah, he's got his surly little band of followers.
Yeah, and for the sake of character stuff, they stop by a woman who's being accused of being a witch. Edward Redmayne is like, "That's fucked up. You need to not kill that lady." Sean Bean is like, "I'm gonna let you go," and then he fucking stabs her because he claims he's like, well, they would have caught her anyway, and this was a mercy kill. And Eddie Redmayne is like conflicted and kind of fucked up about it. Just pointing that out, considering where this heads.
Right, and he says something that's very pointed and is, I think, one of the ultimate themes of the movie. The theme of the movie, I believe, is belief spreading itself like a disease. And the toxic nature of that, or like the bad side of belief and how it spreads like a disease. Like that's
I also
the
feel
Black
like
Death. Anyway,
Sean Bean could have killed anyone this way and said it's a mercy kill, and I would have been like, yeah, he's right. Yeah.
I mean, look at him. He sounds very sorrowful.
Yeah, and like, but speaking, in this world, any murderer that's quick is a mercy killing.
Right. Oh man, if landmines existed back then and you stepped on one, you'd be like, "Oh, that's a lucky son of a bitch. He stepped on a landmine. Never knew it hit him." So, but he says something to Sean Bean where Jonathan Bean says something to the effect of, we're doing God's work by killing witches and evil people, and Eddie says, well, I feel like that doing shit like that serves man infinitely more than it does anything for God. And that's kind of like the point of the movie. So they find some bandits. One of their surly followers gets killed, and Sean Bean's real pissed at Eddie Redmayne for it.
Another one also died earlier because he hid that he had the Black Plague, and so they mercy kill his ass as well.
I think that's after this, but yeah.
No.
Oh, wait, no, maybe it is.
Before.
You're right. It is before. Yeah. So one of the guys does reveal that he's got a big old lump on his neck. So they get to the village.
They lose two people. again, this is a time where just traveling a mile, it's not unexpected to like lose 2 people in your party. Like that's just I can't stress enough how fucking bleak it is for them. Like they lose 2 people before they even get to the adventure.
Yeah. Well, it's not much of an adventure. They get to the village.
Sorry, it's funny to call it an adventure.
It's not an adventure. It's about an hour of walking through the forest and character stuff. There is a cool little medieval fight sequence with the bandits. And a bunch of stabbings and beheadings and gnarly shit happens there. But they finally get to the village, and it's weird. It's like everybody's. It's like Stepford Wives or Village of the Damned or something. Everybody's a little too nice, and it seems weird and sinister. And their leader is Melisandre from Game of Thrones. Carice Van Houten.
Sure is playing that type.
Playing a real Melisandre type.
Yeah.
So they invite the Jonathan Bean decides to lie and stay on the down low. He's like, look, we have a better chance of finding out who the necromancer is if we don't just come straight out and ask, say, you guys heard anything about a necromancer?
Yeah. He should be like, listen, I'm pretty sure it's that lady who looks like a fucking witch, but like, let's figure it out real quick.
Everybody else here,
let's be sure.
Look, everybody else here is dressed like a dirty peasant, and she is dressed like a wizard.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe it's her.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't mean to, I don't want to stereotype here. I want to be fair.
So they invite them for a meal where they drug everybody except for Eddie Redmayne, because Melisandre is like, here, I want to show you something. She claims that they found, his squeeze on the road dead, and she shows Eddie Redmayne her dead body, and he's very upset, obviously, but then she's like, okay, follow me into the woods, creepy woods late at night, where he follows her out there, and he sees her do this ritual where it appears that she brings his squeeze, whose name I forget, Avril, I think, brings Avril back to life, and he's like, this is fucked. I don't know what I'm looking at. Runs back to the village, but Jonathan Bean and all of his guys pass out, and they wake up the next morning in a stockade full of water, and she basically reveals the game. It's like, okay, we've renounced God here. We're all atheists. We don't believe in that shit because I think inquisitors or something killed her husband or something. They've just been... There's a conflict here where she's like, look, I'm just like... I practice like earth medicine and stuff like that, and I've been persecuted, and my husband was killed over it, so kind of fuck the church, and all of us here have the same mindset. Hard to argue. Yeah, she
says earlier where Eddie Redmayne says, how does your husband die? And she's like, people like you killed him. People of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's like, it's paganish. Like, it's just like,
but it's not like
it's a little edgelord too, like because she has them all tied up, and she's like, we're gonna kill you, but we'll let you go if you renounce God. That's the dilly. So like, it's everybody sucks.
And that's one thing that I wanted to hit on, because for up until this point, the whole movie's told from Eddie Redmayne's point of view, and he's having a real crisis of faith, and he's a more reasonable kind of modern-minded person, where he's a Christian and he believes in God and everything, but he's like a reasonable Christian. Like, he's like, well, doing violence and evil and shit, that's not right for God. He's like, why should not? He's questioning some of these archaic rules and stuff that the church has. And then meanwhile, Sean Bean and his guys are real zealots. So like from jump, you don't trust Sean Bean. He seems like he's the villain.
Right. He's the zealot. I would say his band of people are kind of just like trying to get paid.
They're more soldiers. They're mercenaries.
Joke about how they're gonna totally go to hell and stuff like that. Like they're just like they're like the group from Doom, if that makes sense, where they're like, we're badass soldiers, but we're kind of scumbags. Like we're scumbag soldiers.
They're all real scummy. Well, because I think they're all mercenaries.
Where it's like they get the job done, but they're not great people.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one guy who's like their torturer, and he's also when they're introducing him, the little sergeant goes like, he's also a defouler of women. So it's like nobody in this, you don't feel good about really anybody in this group, except for maybe like the sergeant seems all right.
Yeah, there's a couple characters that are kind of chill, and you're like,
yeah, they're pretty chill. But like the torturer guy, definitely not. And like Sean Bean seems like a real violent, dangerous zealot. Yeah. But it's interesting because that one character that you mentioned, there is a scene where like one of the characters mentions something about going to hell or something, or going to heaven. He mentions heaven somehow, and then the sergeant tells him, like, well, you're in no danger of getting to heaven, man, so don't worry about it. But then later on, when they're in the stockades in this scene, and Melisandre is like, look, you can renounce God and we'll let you live, or you cannot and we'll just kill you. And the one guy is like, I'll renounce God, sure. And they're like, no, you'll be damned to hell. And it's like, and I don't think this is a oversight or a plot hole. I think this is very intentional, especially considering what this movie seems to be saying. It's like, well, not 3 scenes ago, you yourself were telling this guy he was never going to see heaven. So it's like, the fuck does he care?
Yeah, I absolutely think there's that idea that everybody secretly thinks they're good. And they are justifying it in their mind. And so to force someone to say like, you will live if you renounce God completely. It's like you're saying the quiet part loud. They're making you say the quiet part loud. And of course, this guy renounces God, and then they say, "We'll bring you to the woods. Well, you'll be safe." And then they just go hang him.
Yeah, they just hang him. The movie seems to be talking about belief and how the terrible things that are done in the name of belief, and how in this sequence, when it wakes up with all the Sean Bean and his guys in the stockade, it like flips very abruptly. Because for the first half of the movie, you're sort of on the side of these villagers because like, well, they just don't. They want to just live in peace without these fucking asshole Christians coming by and murdering people.
It's very much at first. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's. It's just at first you're kind of with them because, like I was saying, everybody in Sean Bean's group seems bad. Our proxy in the film is Eddie Redmayne, a guy who's questioning his faith and some of the more archaic and grotesque things that the church does. So at first we're like, oh, okay, well, fuck these guys. But then it kind of reverses where it's like now they're doing the same thing that the Christians are doing, but they're doing it. It's like, oh, well, it's an interesting thing that the movie does.
Yeah, Sean Bean looks at the camera and goes, "Checkmate, atheists," right at the camera.
Yep.
No,
Take
it
that
is
flying
because
spaghetti monster.
It's part. Yeah, it's what I like about it is that at first it is very much like, oh, look at these hot pagans. Yeah, I'm team hot pagan.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're great. And I would compare it to a movie like The Witch, where The Witch at the end, without spoiling it, you're kind of like, yeah, good for her. Fuck the religious people. But of course, the witch like ate a baby too, so it's like they're not good either. It's not about this side is good and this side is bad. Like you said, it's much more about our religious beliefs. In this case, lack of religious beliefs or firm religious beliefs, and in a time like this, and how it was like, leading to the horrible fucking acts of violence. And what it does, and
they still are religious beliefs, because what we come to learn is that Melisandre doesn't actually have any magical powers. She's not a necromancer. She just has a knowledge of herbs and medicine and shit. So she does stunts basically where she drugs people to the point where it seems that they are dead. So that she can then, quote, bring them back to life. And she explains to Eddie Redmayne later that she does this so that people will follow her and believe her. So she is, like, it is still belief. They just believe that she is magical and she is their savior. Yeah, it's a cult.
Yeah.
She's made a cult for herself.
Yeah. We don't learn that quite yet. What first has to happen is she kills one of them. Who doesn't renounce, and then she
kills the torturer. She killed the guy we like the least is the guy that gets crucified. So it's like, all right, sure,
yeah, it's fine,
whatever.
All is well that ends well.
Yeah.
And then she's like, Eddie Redmayne, go fuck your girlfriend. She's in that fuck hut over there. We brought her back. and then you'll renounce, because she says to him, like, I like you. He's clearly the person that she's trying to recruit. I think she likes the idea of recruiting a monk.
And I think she's sort of pegged that he's struggling with his faith.
Yes, and that he's a compassionate guy.
He seems like somebody, like a genuine possibility for a convert. Yeah,
right. And she thinks she's doing this in the name of good.
She thinks she's doing
like,
good.
Look at all the bad things the religious people have done. I'm doing good things, but I have to first torture and kill the religious people. And so she sends him into the fuck hut, and his wife is like, you know, kind of a zombie, like out of it. And Eddie Redmayne goes hard. He says, checkmate, atheists. And he stabs his wife and kills her because he thinks she's a unholy undead, like a zombie,
right?
Of some
and
sort.
She's behaving like one too, like you would. She's behaving real Pet Cemetery on his ass.
Yeah. And of course, the reveal later that makes him feel like an asshole is that she was just drugged and she never was dead. And he killed her, but he brings her body out and he looks at her and he says, checkmate, atheist. And he looks at Sean Bean, and Sean Bean gives a thumbs up and says, checkmate.
Sean Bean's like, yeah. See? He's with us.
Yeah, and he's basically like, yeah, I'd rather stab my beloved in the fucking gut than renounce my faith. And he also brings the knife out by doing that. And they're like, all right, that's it. Let's Sean Bean him. And that means they take Sean Bean out and they do a Sean Bean on him.
They really Sean Bean him up. You've probably seen this in one of the many YouTube montage videos of every time Sean Bean has died on screen. But he gets drawn and quartered in this movie.
Yeah, he sure does. He gets super Sean Beaned. A couple of horses.
Ultimately,
they just tear
Sean
him in
Beaned.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not
while
that's
before, happening.
Okay, what?
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, sorry. Go on.
Not before he reveals that he is carrying the plague. Like he asks Eddie Redmayne to come up and open his shirt, and he's got the pustules in his armpits, which was one of the big signs. And so he just shouts, "Ha ha! I've got you all!" Basically.
Yeah. He screams, "Checkmate, atheists!" And they rip
looks
him
right
in
at
half.
the camera.
Yeah.
They rip him in half, but. In the meantime, his sergeant guy has picked up a stray knife that got dropped near the barracks, or not barracks, the stockades. So he takes it. He and another soldier get free, and they kill a lot of the other villagers. But the last soldier is killed. So it's just the sergeant guy left. Eddie Redmayne chases Melisandre out in the swamp, but and this is when she sort of explains her whole deal. But she escapes.
Yep. But not before mind fucking him.
Oh, yeah.
By being like, by the way, I'm a con artist. She was drugged. You done killed your beloved. Okay, bye.
Bye.
And he's like, nah.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not magic, you stupid fucking dunce.
Yeah. Did you ever think for a second that perhaps she was just groggy? You called her like a zombie and stabbed her, you idiot.
Yeah. You 12th century dickhead.
Yeah.
Or 13th, whenever this takes place.
Yes.
So yeah, then we get the movie sort of wraps up with narration from the sergeant, which was a little jarring because
it is important.
Yes, it is important.
The sergeant, who's like the nicest guy, sort of ends with him being like, "So I'm the only one who's left."
Yeah.
He has to carry Eddie Redmayne home like a tuckered out little boy.
Yeah, he throws him in the wagon basically because Eddie's been stabbed too.
Yeah, I know he's supposed to be young, but it was very funny when they kept going, "He's just a boy," and it's like, no, he has like a child's face. There's a difference.
No, he is adult man, Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah,
it's like
he's just a little guy.
Just because he's like, a skinny little guy doesn't.
Yeah. He should have. Eddie Redmayne kept that. He should have just kept going like, "Dude, I'm 29." He's like, "He's a little guy.
He's just a baby."
Yeah.
What? He's a swaddling baby. What? No, I'm not. I can hear you.
I'm like 5 years younger than you.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
We're the same age.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has this. So
he's all tuckered out.
We learn that Eddie Redmayne becomes an inquisitor, basically.
He becomes the Scene Bean. He becomes
Cenothan Bean, yeah.
Basically, he becomes a worse version. He grows his hair all long, so you know he's evil. And he becomes... And he stops being a monk, and he basically devotes his life to finding the witch.
Yeah.
That is clearly not a witch. And what they do is
he knows she's not a witch. He's using
Yeah.
the church as a shield for his vengeance.
Right. And what it really comes down to is that he just doesn't like women.
Yes.
Because he's just burning every lady he can find that looks like not even her.
looks like any woman that is like doing any kind of earth shit. And then it seems like we can tell that it's spiraling. Like we see him find Melisandre and take her and basically torture her to death. But then it cuts to a time lapse of him finding another woman who is clearly not Melisandre, but then becomes her the longer he's looking at her. And we hear the sergeant say, like, it basically say that it's like, well, basically every woman started to look like the witch to him.
Even like his sidekicks are like, dude, are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, I love torturing people, but this is fucked up.
Pretty sure we got her, man.
He goes to like a crystal shop in Burbank, and grabs the ladies from there. He's just looking for any mystical
he
chick.
Is out of control.
Yeah,
goes to Burning Man.
Yeah, he goes to Burn. Oh God, he would have so much fun in Burning Man.
Yeah,
it's right there in the name.
I was about to say he read the name of that. And he was like, "Oh shit, this is perfect. This is the place for me."
Yeah, but it basically that's what I like about this movie is like you at a certain point you're like, wait, is this supposed to be pro-religious because of the way they treat the atheists? But it super isn't because of the ending.
Yeah,
where it's more about the fact of like using. Yeah, you've said it before. It's using the idea of religion to basically achieve your personal vendettas and personal goals. You know, like the woman who at first you think is pretty cool because it's like, yeah, hot pagans. She's just getting revenge as well. Everybody's using religion to get revenge.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's all a fucking con game, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I don't know.
It's contagious when people see how devoted and what is it? Not zealous or zealous that you are.
It becomes this thing where if you kill someone in the name of God, then God is the enemy, right? Like it's not just the person who did that murder.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beliefs, which is valid, but it's the idea of how that spirals the idea of war, or the idea of like, I don't just dislike one person, I dislike a type of person.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to go after all that type of person. And it keeps the violence keeps compounding because people keep doing things in the name of some broad idea, and using that as an excuse.
Yeah.
And it's very much it's the Black Death. It's a plague is the idea. So it's a really cool message.
It's a cool metaphor. It's not a super deep idea, obviously, but it's just done very well. And I love that, like, Sean Bean himself, like the reveal that he has the plague, I thought was really cool. That speaks a lot to his character.
Yeah, because he represents it. Yeah,
he represents it.
It's also the ending is also them basically saying like there was no magic. They just didn't have the plague yet.
They were remote. They were remote. That was it. And early on in the movie, when Eddie is still like on the side of good, he keeps pointing out to Jonathan Beansworth, look, man, plenty of villages don't have the plague. Like it's not, I don't think it's spread like that. Like he seems to have some, like I said, he's kind of like a modern thinking person. So he's thinking about the plague scientifically. Because he keeps saying also that I don't think it's a judgment from God. I don't think it has anything to do with God. But yeah, so I liked the idea that like, he represents the plague. He brings the plague to the village because he said, like, the thing he says is I am death, I am vengeance, basically is what he says. I am death, vengeance is mine.
Yeah, I feel like it's what he really wanted. He wanted this so hard.
But like he was hiding it from his men too. So it's like he knows he's infected. He knows he's endangering his men. And it was I
fucking loves it.
Yeah, and it's sort of like it's a version of what Melisandre is doing to her people, because they all think she's magic and can control death, but she can't do that, and she knows she can't do that. So it's I like I said, it's not a super deep idea, but it's executed really, really well, and the story is just interesting, just the way it sort of keeps flipping around on you, so you're not quite sure what the movie is telling you until the very end. Right, because you sort of have this, like, it's almost like this weird, it's like a reverse whodunit where you're trying to figure out who the good person is. Yeah, the answer is no one. No one. I would say the one guy who narrates at the end. Oh, the sergeant. The closest. Yeah. He's the closest to a pretty good person. He's just a dude. I mean, he's still doing a job to do violence for the church, but he doesn't have an agenda beyond that. Yeah, he's the only one who's just like, well, that was fucked up. Yeah, I gotta get the fuck away from this. Edward Redmayne certainly isn't the good guy. And, it's very much about showing this person who is on the right track just become just damned from this. Yeah, and it's because he meets this grifter person, Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's weird. This director, this isn't at all the same as Triangle. Not at all. Triangle was very interesting in that they both represent these indie films that are right on the edge, right? Like he's able to get good enough actors it doesn't feel like a direct to DVD situation, right? And this was after Triangle, so like he probably got more budget here. I don't remember this being in theaters or anything. Well, it's a British film, so it might just have not been in theaters here. Yeah, maybe. But it's still very indie. And I like that this director he feels like he's, and I mean, if this director's out there listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but he seems like he's in that sweet indie spot where he's not on anybody's radar, but he's getting just enough money to do the things he wants to do. So he's like not, like, I'm sure there's a lot of things he had to change to make this movie affordable. Like, you can feel the budget a little bit, but not much. A little bit, yeah. There's not... Again, when you're in England, everything looks like fucking medieval castles anyway, so it's easy. Mm-hmm. And it didn't need to be big. Yeah, and Triangle's the same way, where it's like, oh, you did the thing. You were right on the edge, budget-wise, and then I just appreciate that he's making interesting films, but not... Like, when I realized it was the director of Triangle, I was like, oh, shit. Is this going to be some sci-fi nonsense? No. It's just as surprising as Triangle in that you're like, oh, I didn't expect the movie to do this or to go in this way. Like, there's still twists and turns. But it's not like I'm going to create a big plot twist. It's like, no, I'm just going to twist the morality and play with the ideas here in a way that is surprising. Yeah. Like, it is, you could argue there's a plot twist in this, but it's in the themes, not the actual, it's not like this big reveal. It's more of like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that to happen. Because everything the movie is setting up, it also seems to, it doesn't think its audience is dumb. No. It's like, no, you understand that Sean Bean and these guys are not good. Right. And it's surprising then when they're put in a heroic scene where they're the ones who have to, like, save themselves, Right. But then you have to constantly, at the end of that scene, the sergeant takes, like, Melisandre's second in command and locks him in his little Inquisitor torture cage to be driven back to judgment. So you do have to remind yourselves, like, well, they may seem heroic or be in a heroic position right now, but this is what they do to people all the time. Exactly. They're not bad. They're not good people. And it's like a reminder. Yeah. Yeah. Hob is the name of the guy. Yeah. And Hob seems like he says, why did you follow her? And he says, because she was beautiful. Which is the equivalent of him being like, because I wanted to bang her. And he says something else, but he does lead with she was beautiful, and I forget, he has something else to say there. I should have written it down. She's charismatic. She had the answers he was looking for. This motherfucker is going to get tortured forever. Yeah. Oh yeah. And he's not even the person who did the bad thing. Mm-hmm. Like, he's no different than any of them. No.
They're all like, that's what it comes down to is like, oh yeah, he killed people. And it's like, yeah, and they also killed people.
Yeah.
Now, didn't they? Mm-hmm. It's the idea of, morality being like, again, these guys, the guy described as like defiler of women, they're just like chuckling about it because he's on their side.
Yeah.
He's fighting for their religion.
Yeah.
And so it's that's the theme throughout, which is like, so yeah, in the end, like you don't feel great watching this for that reason where you're like, oh, I guess I hate everybody. All right.
And that guy gets the Braveheart death too. Like Sean Bean gets the main one, but like that odious torturer gets crucified and they cut his guts open, but he never, like, he does the stereotypical cool thing. Like he's like, yeah, fuck you. Why don't you cut me harder, you sissy? You know, like that's, I
like that a lot though. Like, because as much as I like, you know, like movies like Death Proof, I do think when they do the thing where it's like the shitty person still like is still tough. It's like, you can't take that away. That's what's make them scary. Yeah. Is like, he is a tough guy. He can take it. He's not gonna whimper and cry at the end. He's gonna go out like, fuck you all.
And it's also,
it's like, I don't like the guy. Like,
it's also from their point of view. And again, a movie's all about belief and faith. They are the heroes. Like they believe themselves to be the heroes here.
And you mentioned like the William Wallace stuff where it's like, we tell stories like, you know, any story about the founding fathers usually just like omits the racism. You know, like we often edit our stories to be like centered towards like Christian values or American values, where we ignore like the terrible things these people did. And so this is what's interesting is it's more of like, it's none of these people represent historical figures, but it gives you that feeling of like, we're going to give this guy a heroic death, but it's like, but that person's bad too. Yeah. Like that, like we're not going to sugarcoat who that person is. They suck, you know? This is a white guy working for the church in England. And it's like, no, that's not a cool guy.
And like, remember the whole reason that Sean Bean and his guys are at this village in the first place is because they heard rumors that they're not Christian here. That's the only reason.
Yeah, the idea is like when they first like, there's a town that's not touched by the plague. They're like, isn't that good? And they're like, yeah, but they're not touched because they don't like God, and we need to go and kill them all to show them that God has wrath. Like it's basically the idea of like, we can't prove them right. We have to go fuck up their situation because otherwise that proves that God is actually not great.
Yeah. And it'll encourage, I think David Warner even said, or Sean Bean, one of them says that, but they're like, it'll encourage people to look beyond God and the church for answers.
Exactly. So everybody's shitty, and that's the idea. And that's what's interesting is like, once you get to the village, you are ready to hate these people, and you're
you like, don't like
die.
Them.
Yeah, you're like, I can't wait for these guys to die. And then you meet this hot pagan chick, and you're like, fuck yeah, team pagan chick. And then they make her like a sniveling con artist. Yeah. And it's like, oh, shit. Fuck.
That's cool. They do a scene because Eddie got stabbed by the highwaymen on their way there. So they do a scene where he goes with Melisandre to get his wound treated. And we see her like working up this poultice or something and then puts it in his wound. And he's like astonished. He's like, shit. He's like, the pain's already leaving. Like, holy shit.
And so like we call this cocaine.
Yeah, but like, you know, it's so you're even more on her side at this point. She's like, oh, she's just like a lady that knows about herbs and medicine and shit, and these backwards motherfuckers are still fucking frightened of the sun. You know,
she's a smart woman, and she uses that to stay afloat in a terrible world.
Yeah.
So you could argue that you understand where she's coming from. Absolutely. Yeah. She is a sympathetic character.
And you get that with Sean Bean as well. They have like a scene in the church where he comes in to check on Eddie after he's learned that apparently his squeeze has died, and he's like, well, what's wrong with you? And he's like, oh, I'm miserable. I'm giving up my faith. And then Sean Bean kind of has like a heart to heart with him where he reveals like, yeah, my wife and kid are dead too. And this is kind of like what gives me strength and purpose is, fighting for God, fighting for something I believe in. So you're like, oh, okay, I could see, like, you can understand how he became the person he is.
For sure. And that's it's really good blurry morality because it would have been so easy to make Sean Bean just a straight up bastard.
Yeah.
It would have been really easy to make the witch lady like a really really good person, you know. But they don't do either of those. They make them both like kind of shitty and kind of good. They kind of have a point, and so like it makes it so that the villain is like the belief structures more than anything else.
Hands down, above all else. Yeah, because everyone is just doing what they think the edicts of their god or their hot wizard lady is telling them to do.
And I think they were trying to make, and I'll explain why I say trying. The idea of Eddie Redmayne, we're supposed to like him, and then it's like tragic what happens to him. He's supposed to be the good guy. I say that because I find Eddie Redmayne one of the least charismatic actors.
Oh, really?
And I never like him. I never like when he plays a good guy. I still don't like him.
Oh, I like him.
I don't know what it is. He kind of has bully face to me. He like no. That's what I'm saying. This is a personal issue.
Oh, I got
not
you.
It's just like he always rubs me the wrong way. So like even when he's the hero, I'm just like I don't like him. I don't like the guy.
I don't like that fucking guy.
I'm sure he's a perfectly nice guy. He's a great actor.
Get him away from me.
I feel bad, you know?
Yeah.
Like if I met him, I'd slap him and then I'd go, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry."
Reflex. I had no control. I don't know what happened
exactly.
there.
I don't know. I just want to squash you. Yeah.
I don't have too much more to say.
I hate his stupid face, Tom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't have too much more to say about this movie other than it was not what I was expecting. A delightful surprise, much like Triangle.
I didn't know what I was expecting. I had a feeling this was going to be fucking grim because that's the only thing I kind of knew about it. Yeah. And I thought it was more of a horror movie and not a drama. It definitely has horror elements. I thought it'd be supernatural. I'm glad it's what it is. That's for darn tootin'.
Yeah. The original script had like Melisandre literally was a necromancer and was like a reincarnation of the devil or some shit. It got like wild, the original version of this story.
Again, I wonder if it's budget where they're just like, okay, just make her a con
Apparently
man.
Not.
But I really like it. I really like it. I got to see this guy's other stuff. He's making a movie called Consecration. It's in post-production now. He made something called The Banishing in 2020. Gonna have to watch that. He made Get Santa, whatever that is, Detour. The newest one has Jenna Malone and Danny Hudson. So he always has actors. You know what I mean? He always has actors that like they're not leading actors in Hollywood, but they're very good actors.
Yeah.
And, so I don't know. The Banishing looks like a straight up horror movie. It's a haunted house movie. Ooh. Oh God, I want to watch this now.
I am.
And it's got one of the guys from this in it. Fuck. It doesn't have good reviews. I don't care. I want to see it.
I'm gonna watch shit out of it. I don't care. Like this director's got me for the time being.
Get Santa looks terrible. It's Santa Claus is arrested and a recently paroled prisoner and his young son attempt to save Christmas before it's too late after Santa is arrested. Santa is played by Jim Broadbent.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Again, this guy, Warwick Davis, is in this? Fuck. What do you think Santa was arrested for? Indecent exposure, right?
Probably must be.
Yeah, he just has that. He has whip his dick out face, you know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm
not even stretching for time. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. I just want to watch a Santa movie now.
Hell yeah, let's watch the Santa movie.
It has Stephen Graham in it.
Oh, now we got a movie. Stephen Graham
and Ewan Bremer. It's just all the fucking British motherfuckers.
Yeah, Stephen Graham should have been in this movie. Like, there's a couple of characters I thought were Stephen Graham.
Yeah. It's the British. It's
Yeah. When he's in Season of the Witch, which is a little similar to this, except it's supernatural and stupid.
Right.
Yeah, that's the Nick Cage, Ron Perlman one. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what happened in that movie with a gun to my head.
it's basically what if a Hollywood producer saw this same kind of movie and was like, well, let's make it like a Hollywood
like
action movie.
Bullshit.
So it's like supernatural and stupid, but also kind of awesome because it's Nick Cage and Ron Perlman hunting witches. But like actual, they're real witches in that movie,
right?
Because we like to make irresponsible period pieces about witches.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah, let's be
done. Are we done?
Be done, Dave.
Okay.
Let's tell them some stuff.
Okay, well, hold on. Big thank you to Harris and Millie. Thank you to Harris and Millie. This was great. Good for spooky season. Listen, we have a Patreon. That's how this was done. Patreon.com/gamefully unemployed. There's exclusive podcasts on there for just $5 a month. You get access to Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek's The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We also watch movies with our patrons every Friday night.
Yeah.
And then we have custom We Just Watched episodes. You can also review us wherever you get podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts. I love you.
We also have a store. Head over to GamefullyUnemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, get on your little torture wagon and and mosey on over there and check that out.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Yeah.
And just be happy that you don't exist in the Sean Bean time.
Yeah.
The old timey.
Seems like a real drag.
All they could do, you could go to a stream and look for rocks under the stream that look sexual and masturbate to them. Like that's the best thing they had going for them back then.
All you had to do.
Yeah.
Just look at pieces of nature.
Mermaiding because they were under the water, the rocks.
Find different things in nature to masturbate to.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That rock looks pretty good.
Yeah. Stick it in the rock.
Mm-hmm.